A state of emergency is declared in North Carolina amid another night of unrest in Charlotte. What started out as a peaceful march in the city's uptown area quickly turned violent. What started out again in that uptown city area, it basically turned into clashes, and it broke out between protesters and police outside the Omni Hotel. You're looking at these pictures right here. Police in riot gear fired off tear gas and flash grenades as demonstrators threw objects at officers. Now, there were also reports of looting, and two employees at the nearby Hyatt House Hotel were assaulted by protesters. One person was shot and is in critical condition. Earlier, they were reporting that that person was dead, but we have since learned that is not the case. The Charlotte-Mecklenburg police chief said it was a civilian-on-civilian shooting. North Carolina Governor, meanwhile, Pat McCrory, issued a statement saying he is sending out state troopers to help the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department. The National Guard and State Highway Patrol are also being deployed, and we're hearing that it could take up to 3 hours just to have the National Guard in place. So people are waiting patiently but desperately at the same time. The governor commended law enforcement officials for their, quote, bravery and courage during this difficult situation. Now, the protest follows the fatal shooting of 43-year-old Keith Lamont Scott at the hands of police. Here's a picture of him. Police say Lamont was armed and had ignored multiple warnings to drop his gun before an officer opened fire and killed him. But neighbors and family members say Scott was holding a book, not a gun. Well, our David Begnaud is on the scene in Charlotte. And David, you are prepared now to give us a tour. What can you tell us right now as we look at these aerials? And now we have the shot of you. What's going on there?
I'm at Martin Luther King in South Caldwell. This is the Hilton Garden Inn behind me. We were about, I'd say, 20 yards back when we started hearing what sounded like popping, glass shattering. And we realized I was 20 yards away, and I saw what was a male individual standing here, and he was hurling bottles just like that into the front door. On the side here, somebody used spray paint. It says, "Rest in peace, Keith Scott." That is the man who was shot and killed by police. But you look here, they nailed a bottle went through here, that shattered. The doors that they've actually locked, I mean, that's pretty intense to cause that right there. And I don't know what type of bottles they were using, but again, we could hear it from 20, 30 yards away. As you come around the side, there was a big window right here, beautiful window looking into the lobby that is also shattered. You have glass all over the ground. There are people inside, patrons who I'm told were in there. Hello, sir. People who were in there when it happened. We could see them, and they started to back up, not run, but they were backing up as they saw people hurling these bottles. You have another glass that was shattered here. It looks like another part of the area just in front of the reception desk. I would say it was probably a group of 6 or 7 that did this, and then they fled into a parking lot over here. So they just took off running, and that's what we've seen for the last couple of hours. You've got these people who come, vandalize a place, and then run, and then they vandalize another place and they run. Just down the street, about a half hour ago, there was a group of people who were targeting drivers. These are drivers who were at red lights, parked, waiting to go. And next thing you know, people start throwing bottles at their windows. There was one driver who took off, and when he took off, we were pretty sure that somebody was going to get run over. Come walking with me, if you will. So ahead is an interstate. It's a loop on one of the interstates here, and we're told that there is a group of people that have walked onto the interstate. We have not been able to see it for ourselves, but it's just up ahead, I'd say probably 50 yards. So we'll walk with you. I'll tell you a little bit more about what we saw tonight. There was another hotel in the area, the Hyatt Place, where we're told there was damage that was sustained to the front door. There is a report that a couple of people inside may have been hurt. Initially, my crew and I, we have 2 security guards with us right now, but my crew and I earlier were in an area that kind of seemed a little dicey, and as we started to back out, I took what felt like a rock to the back. I'm fine, but nonetheless, I say that just to illustrate it's precarious out here because you don't know who you're dealing with. A lot of these people are wearing masks. You have people, look at this man hanging out the vehicle right there, right? So he's yelling no justice, no peace. And you've got people like that who are just driving extremely erratic. I'm seeing some vehicles, some police units, lights on, code 3, running through downtown. DeMarco, you can hear the helicopters hovering above me. The helicopters have, oh, look at this, look at how dangerous this is. Look at how dangerous this is. This is crazy. And this is what it's been like all night, DeMarco. People either on foot, most of them are on foot, but then you've got these Who knows where they came from? A lot of them are wearing that mask, so you can't get a good, like a bandana wrapped around their face. You can't get a good visual of what they look like. Keep walking with me. DeMarco?
All right, Dave, quick question for you. It started a little early, around 7 p.m. What time did you arrive on the scene, and at what point did it, sort of get out of hand? I know it was a prayer vigil to begin with.
Well, I got to tell you, initially, we were told by CBS News management to stay out of the area for our own safety. That was the decision made by the company. A good decision, I might add, because we were seeing some of our colleagues who were actually getting hurt. One of our colleagues at another network was pretty much knocked to the ground by a protester. And so we stayed away from the area until probably about 10 o'clock Eastern. And when we decided it was safe, we decided, I'm sorry, Jack, what? Okay, yeah, so when we decided it was safe, we showed up. So keep walking. Let's get a little closer. So you see they blocked off this area that would lead to the interstate here where we are. This is East Stonewall. NASCAR sign right there. Charlotte Business Journal is what I see. Again, we're in the uptown area, so the protesters have just been moving through. But back to your point earlier, we got here probably at about 10 o'clock, and there was a group of riot police that had lined across the street. And what they would do is they would tell people, this is an unlawful assembly. So basically what you have to do is back up. So they would do it in English, then in Spanish, and then they would advance on those protesters. And they were threatening to arrest people. But the people just kept backing up. So the riot police would move in, and the people would run and scatter. And that's what it's been. I mean, it's been a game of cat and mouse. I have not seen one person get arrested tonight. Now, compare that to Baton Rouge, following the death of Alton Sterling, where we had those protests. There were a lot of arrests when riot police turned out. I have not seen one arrest tonight, DeMarco.
I got to ask you this. I know the governor had declared a state of emergency and has also deployed the National Guard, which could possibly take 3 hours to be in place. Along with state troopers there. Does it feel, or do you feel the sense that they have everything under control in that area? It appears that they don't, but you may see a little something different, because we've also seen protesters on I-277 as well.
Yeah, so your initial question about the governor was what?
Well, he declared a state of emergency, of course, activating the National Guard in that area. Do you have a sense that the local police department there has that situation under control? We've been looking at all the video that has been coming into our studio, and it appears that they don't.
So, well, let me say this to you. I don't know if it's fair to say that necessarily they don't have it under control. I would say, from what my crew and I are witnessing on the scene, they seem to be exercising incredible restraint, right? There were moments where there were officers on bicycles, others who were on four-wheelers and go-karts and in vehicles, kind of just going through the area monitoring, right? As if, they saw people throwing bottles, but they would kind of watch them and they'd let them go. Almost like herding cattle, right? They were herding people kind of in this direction, making sure, I got the sense, that no gunshots rang out. So again, I don't know if I'd say they don't have control of it. I'd say they're exercising great restraint in dealing with these people. Again,
I'll tell you this, David, from the pictures that we have been seeing, there are tons of people who were on the highway, I-277 drivers just trying to get by. We didn't see any police there, but it appears now that they have opened it back up to drivers, so they are now on the scene. But just trying to make sure, because we're seeing pockets, and it looks as if the police just can't control the situation, especially when you look at some of the other situations where you look at the Ferguson stuff. Now, clearly it is a protest. We get that. We get that people are going to be looting, but have you gotten the sense, just personally, I know you can't say that, you can't say it definitively, but have you gotten the sense that they do or they don't have things under control in those hot pocket areas? Your area seems clear.
Again, it looks to me in this area that they have it under control, and they're controlling it the way they think is best here. In the other areas, I'm not able to see what's going on, because we've literally been following the people. In other areas, we hear from our affiliates where little pockets of people are popping up at the light rail station, on the interstate. So I would say here it's calmed down, but you've still got, and I look in the air, 4 or 5 helicopters who are in the air right now. You hear the man behind me. That's some of what you do in a situation situation like this. You walk through, you nod to people, you make sure you give them the acknowledgement, but you keep your crew safe. And a lot of people just want to be heard. They have a legitimate complaint here, DeMarco, and they want to get heard. And so we acknowledge that we hear them and we keep moving. That seems to be the safest thing to do.
All right, David, thank you very much.